You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Looking forward to bringing you today's show on the protein shake diet. Not my term, but one actually that has been touted on medical news. So medical news and medical news today, it's a fairly popular conventional medicine-based website. So they talk about all of the great things that conventional medicine is doing, all of the new research, all of the cutting edge, whether they be pharmaceuticals or anything kind of going on where we're helping people with their overall health, or sometimes in terms of conventional medicine, it's helping people manage their disease, which is not something we like to do. But, the truth is that the goal of conventional medicine and the goal of naturopathic medicine is the same exact thing. We really do just want to help people. We go about it in radically different ways. But the truth is, I think that we're all trying to help people in the end. Are pharmaceutical companies trying to help people in the end? That's somewhat debatable, right? I mean, there are some drugs that are obviously great for people who do need them, especially with congenital-based issues. But for the most part, pharmaceutical companies make money by keeping someone on a drug for a long period of time, like their entire life. That goes for statins, that goes for things like acid blockers or acid reducers. And these are all things that we know have very clear underlying root causes and fairly easy and fairly straightforward natural-based protocols in order to rebalance the body. Remember, we're never treating a disease in natural medicine. What we're doing is actually asking why, figuring out the underlying root cause, going about healing that, whether it's a toxicity or a deficiency, and then from there, the disease magically disappears. And of course, we know it's not magic at all. What we did was we rebalanced that underlying cause, which was causing some type of inflammation, which then led to a specific symptom. That's basically part of your genetic code. Now, genetics doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day, except it means that you're exposed or you're predisposed to some certain outcome if your body becomes imbalanced. So that's essentially what we're looking at. And again, that was kind of a little pretext to why they wrote this article, because again, I'm not against any form of medicine. I'm really not. I'm pro people. That's the thing. And so if this is truly helping people, I will promote any product, any book, any nutritional supplement, any way of life, any whatever that helps people. And that's really the bottom line. In 2018, I'm going to try to do even more of that. I'm going to try to bring on maybe 1 to 2 guest experts in their field each month. I'm going to promote even more great books, products that I use in my practice, third-party vendors that have just a great product that I love. And I've got so many that I can't wait to introduce you to. So this can be a lot of fun and then also research as well. So a lot of what we do in naturopathic medicine or functional medicine is saying there's no science behind that. There's no whatever. The truth is that's always said by people who don't actually read any science. And I know it's kind of tongue in cheek, but it's still the truth, because if you just spent a minute and a half, 90 seconds of actually typing into Google any of the terms that we're talking about in terms of research, you would actually see that a lot of studies have been done on it, not just one, and they're not obscure. They're done in either the United States or they're done in Europe. And it shows very sequentially, meaning step by step, when a person has this, these are some of the underlying root causes, and these are some of the vitamins, minerals, herbs, neurotransmitters, diets, etc., or lifestyle-based factors such as meditation and cryotherapy and sauna and all these things that are helping. So when I see an article that finally comes around to saying, okay, I guess we take it back. You're right. Protein shakes and these types of things can be helpful for people. And so I'm just going to outline it. But essentially what medical news today was talking about, this thing called the protein shake diet. Now, it might have been a little bit of clickbank. I'm like, the protein shake diet, what are they talking about? So, of course, I wanted to read more about it. And really what they were talking about, they didn't actually promote any type of protein shake, which I thought was great. So that gives them a little bit of panache, I guess, in being able to recommend it without trying to promote a particular product, which I will talk about some today. And you can obviously insert your favorite protein shake, of course. But what they're looking at is they're just really taking the basics and they're saying, okay, human body needs somewhere around 50 grams of protein per day. How are we getting that? Vegan, vegetarian, paleo-based sources. And when I say that, I basically mean vegan, it's all going to be plant-based, completely plant-based. Vegetarian, a lot of people who call themselves vegetarian, they just don't eat meat, but they will eat some fish or they will eat some eggs or some dairy. So take your pick, whether it's lacto-ovo, pescatarian, and then paleo. Well, paleo typically means you're eating some type of meat. Not always, but I consider myself paleo, but I'm not eating meat, that's for sure, at every single meal of the day. But however you want to classify that is totally fine. So they're looking at about 50 grams per day of protein. Now, again, that's really lines up well with my research as well, because the human body, for most people, this will vary based on the individual, needs somewhere about, this is the easiest way to do it, take your body weight, lop it in half. That's about how much protein you need per day, and that can come from any source that you desire. Now, technical, if you want to take your body weight in kilograms, you need about 0.8 of that per day. So it's actually less than half your body weight. So again, I always just use the average person as 160 pounds. How much protein would they need per day? Well, they would need about 80 grams of protein, or if we just did that in kilograms, that would equal 58, right around 58 grams or so of protein per day. So again, it's not too far off whether you're going from 60 to 80. Approximately really matters more based on your body type, whether it's ecto, meso, or endomorph, as well as how active you are. The leaner you are and closer to the mesomorph, ectomorph, probably need a little bit more protein because it's a little bit more of an anabolic food. But again, we can make that argument all day. So let's move on. So we just know we need some protein per day. It doesn't need to be the massive amount of protein like we've been led to believe. Again, this is one of the things when I was trying to put on a lot of muscle a bunch of years back. Well, I was eating like 275 grams or more of protein per day, which is completely insane and not very healthy for your body. So when we look into protein shake diets, well, really, what are we talking about? Well, I like that they actually give some pros and cons. They talk about different things about how it works. I want to make it really easy for you because their summary was fine, but I want to give you some real reasons why people would enjoy 1 to 2 protein shakes or so in their diet. And what I want to do, maybe I'll just take one step back, is explain the protein shake diet. Because when I saw it, I was like, oh, what are they talking about? Just all protein shakes every day for like the rest of your life? Or what does that mean? Well, a protein shake diet for them is inserting 1 or 2 protein shakes per day instead of a meal. And they didn't say why, but I want to give you some reasons why someone may want to do that. And then I'll get to the research of how it was effective for people. So here's the reasons why that I've seen in my practice literally over 20 years of why people would use 1 protein shake per day, maybe 2, but we'll talk about that at the end. Is the first one is just absolute convenience. A lot of people are just rushed, meaning they don't have time to sit down to a healthy meal. So it's either that or grabbing a muffin, croissant, pastry, breakfast bar, one of those things that are essentially white, brown, like devoid of color, devoid of any good nutrition for their breakfast, okay? Or sometimes for a mid-afternoon snack. So that's why, again, I'm a huge advocate. You know that I'm a huge advocate of a smoothie in the morning with protein, with some of that in there. And again, it doesn't have to be a lot. We're talking about 10 to 15 grams of protein, a little bit more if you want. But if you look at that and you do 3 meals per day and you do about 15 grams to 20 grams or so per meal, you're already at that 60. It's very, very easy to do, especially since your protein comes from other things besides your beans, lentils, protein powders, fish, or meat. You get protein from quinoa and from oatmeal and some vegetables and lentils. So there's other ways to get protein besides that one macro, which we would consider the protein. Okay, so besides convenience, meaning that instead of just picking something very unhealthy for you, like a pastry or a muffin or something quick on the go that's just very, very processed and that it's going to spike blood sugar anyways, reaching for a protein shake. I'll make it easy on how to do this in a moment because I think that this is something that we're overlooking. That when people ask me, I get interviewed a lot on podcasts, what's the number one thing you could do right now where you'd see immediate results? And I say, okay, a lot of the things that you do for yourself to be a healthy human being, you're going to see over the long run. Like they're going to pay dividends over months and years. You will begin to start to feel incredible in both mind and body, and you won't even know why because it's accumulated, right? These are accumulated results. As our cells start to turn over, they get healthier. Like the new ones are actually healthier. That's one of the biggest revelations that I've seen in natural medicine is witnessing it myself, feeling it myself, and then seeing people because I've gotten to work with them now over years. And I'm like, how did I start seeing this person 7 years ago or so? And today, they're 7 years older, but they look and just act so much younger. Meaning like they act like a kid. Like they have a lot more energy. They have a lot more zest for life. They're taking on new projects. They're like switching career. Like everything about them shows that they're acting younger besides just their age getting older. It's like this just dichotomy between where they should be and where they're at today. And so when people ask me, what's the one thing? I say, well, the one thing that you could feel immediately, but also leads to these great long-term results would be making a smoothie for breakfast. And honestly, don't get too caught up with it. I mean, we give a free download on my favorite wellness and weight loss smoothies, but the truth is, just start putting fun things in. Put things in that you would actually enjoy, that you like the taste. If you want to use chocolate protein powder and peanut butter and like almond milk and a banana and just make this absolutely delicious smoothie because you're not really into smoothies, but you would drink that, good. Then do that. It's so much healthier than the muffin, right? It's so much healthier. It's not going to be my favorite choice for you, but it's also not that bad either, right? It's not that bad. So, I mean, just get started with it. That's my biggest thing. And I've done a million shows on smoothies. I have free downloads. I'll link up to the free downloads today for smoothies and all those things. But, just start to get into it. All right, let me get through some other reasons why. Crowding out bad foods. So, if you say to yourself, which I talk to people all the time, you can have more if you want after you drink your smoothie. Meaning like you can have an additional afternoon snack, drink your smoothie first. Okay, you can have breakfast if you want, drink your smoothie first. Why? Because you are massively hydrating your body. It's one more reason. Most people don't drink water in the morning. They don't. They just don't. They wake up and they have coffee. Okay, coffee is not going to hydrate your body in the same way as spring water, a smoothie, a bowl of fruit, berries, even oatmeal would. It's just not. And the reason is that there's caffeine. Caffeine is going to act as such a diuretic, and you're not going to get the same hydration-based levels. Okay, really, really important to look at that. So if you put in 8 ounces, 16 ounces, or even 24 ounces of fluid in your smoothie like I personally do, you're going to get lots of hydration. And I drink that over 90 minutes. So I drink my smoothie over a certain period of time. It's 2 big mason jars, and I basically drink one pretty quick, and then I save one, and I start to just sip that through the morning. That is just timed release nutrition and hydration through the whole morning. So it makes me feel great and energized, and I don't have hunger because I'm just taking in all this fluid as well, plus the veggies I put in there, plus the fruit, and plus the protein, and a little bit of healthy fat. All right, the other thing is you can take it on the run. You can make the smoothie at home, throw your blender in the sink with some water if you want, let it soak. You can clean it later if you want. Or just grab a little bowl or a little quart of like raspberries or whatever you want and throw 2 scoops of powder into a shaker bottle, take the shaker bottle, and walk out of your house with it. It's that easy. You can do it the night before. Your berries don't need to be refrigerated. You can put them right on the counter. Put your shaker bottle right there. Put a bottle of water next to it. Fill up your shaker bottle with water, or use cold water if you choose to, and then walk out the door. That whole breakfast takes 10 seconds, 20 seconds to shake. That's about it. Honestly, like that's how quick it can be. When I was using protein shakes 20 plus years ago, it was disgusting. You could not shake that and get that powder to break up. So I don't know if anybody's was into this, the protein shakes back in the day, but you would shake it up and the whole top would look like little marshmallows from when you would get like hot cocoa as a kid and they would all float to the top. It was absolutely repulsive. But I was doing it to put on muscle, so I would kind of choke down all of the powdery gelatinous chunks at the top. And then I would drink this water that was like pseudo-flavored protein water. It was absolutely repulsive. And I'm very happy to say today, we can get these micronized versions of proteins that are so much easier. They literally shake up in 10 seconds. Really, really easy. All right, so we already talked about the hydration, the crowding out, being on the run, and also very inexpensive. You might buy a muffin for like $2 or maybe even more. Well, a good protein shake is going to be about $2. That's it. Like that's literally it. So you're not going to spend more money and you're going to get way more nutritional value. So that's my next tip, is that you're going to power up your body with what it was meant to get in the morning. So it was meant to get vitamins and minerals and amino acids and everything your body needs for fuel. Like that's what your body needs to run on. Your body doesn't need caffeine to run, and it doesn't need wheat to run in the morning. It does not. Your body needs your macros, your protein, carbs, and fat. It needs water, most importantly, and you need to stay hydrated. Basically, you just need to fuel your body with what it's looking for. Because remember, for the last 10 hours, let's say you stop eating at 8 o'clock at night before, and you're walking out your door, let's just say it's 8 in the morning, that's 12 hours. So 12 hours without real food or any water, well, guess what? Half a day without water, your body needs hydration. Even if all you take away from this is that your body needs to be hydrated, that's enough. I honestly believe that even if you just woke up and you did a squeeze of lime, maybe a little pinch of sea salt in your water, fantastic. You'd already be hydrating your body with what I call a little bit of natural Gatorade right there. All right, protein shakes are also easy to digest as long as you're using the right protein for you. And we'll go through all the proteins up next that you can choose from. And then I talked about this, you can bring them anywhere. So even if you want like a mid-afternoon snack, you don't want to grab the cookies or, the vending machine or the candy at work. Well, just bring a shaker bottle or keep a bottle of your powder at your desk if you want at work. Put 2 scoops in there, shake it up with water, shake it up with some nut milk if you choose to, whatever you want to do. And you can make your own protein shake really anywhere. I mean, you could keep a bottle of water and a protein shaker in your car as well. You have an easy, on-the-go, healthy snack that's also providing you with hydration. So, big thing here is you get all the nutrition you need, you get the hydration you need, and you also crowd out bad foods while being able to take it anywhere and on the run. So, the drawback, though, is that you don't want to replace all of your meals on a long-term ongoing basis. Or I shouldn't say a drawback. The drawback from what I read on medical news today is I want to make sure that we all understand that we're not meant to replace literally all of our meals with protein shakes. Like that's really important to me. So whole food first, but when your option is not whole food, you need to make your best relative choice. Okay. So for example, if you can't make breakfast in the morning, which again, I would argue that a smoothie is making breakfast and it's way better than making, I'll talk about this in a moment, eggs every single morning or just having cereal every morning, which is not nutritious, or buying a pastry on the go. So a smoothie is way more nutritious, but I want to make sure that we're not replacing then lunch with a protein shake and then mid-afternoon with a protein shake and then dinner, like you're using it too much. Now, if you're doing a specific detox, or you have a specific reason, okay, like I'm good with that. Because you were given it by a health practitioner. You were told to do it for a specific reason, like creating something called autophagy within the body or autophagy, where your body's actually using that time to not have to use its energy for digestion. So your immune system gets to stay fired up. Your energy systems get to stay fired up. Fine. For a couple days at a time, 48 hours, maybe 3 days at the most. I'm good with that. Every 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. Fine. Totally fine with that. Happy with that. That's good to go. That probably mimics the inavailability of food many thousands of years ago. I'm okay with that, but not every day. And yes, you can make an argument with a smoothie is a meal. You just blend it up, and so you can have that for breakfast, lunch, mid-afternoon. Okay, you can make that argument, but still, I think you're going to be missing out in the long term by not getting in other types of food. So I just want to make sure that I'm not advocating this for every meal of the day. It can be a meal replacement, but I don't want to see you replace all of your meals with this, which, believe it or not, there are companies out there that are saying that you could replace all of your meals with this. Not there. I'm just not there. I do want to make sure that we diversify our diets and that we're getting in good nutrition from a lot of different sources. Really, really important to me. So what are the different types of protein shakes that you could use? Okay, I've reviewed actually some of these in the past. So whey protein can actually be very doable by a lot of people. How would you test this? Well, you'd run a food sensitivity test. This is extremely important because whey and casein are the first two that come from dairy, okay? I've done over 1,000 food sensitivity tests in my clinical practice. The number one food sensitivity in the world that I see from at least an IgG perspective, okay, that's one particular type of immunoglobulin, is cow's milk, okay? So is grass-fed whey protein much better for you than regular whey protein? Yes. It contains less of the recombinant bovine growth hormone. It contains less estrogen. It contains less of the high omega-6s. Okay, so that's great. But I do want you to make sure that when you put whey protein in your body, that you're not having an allergy, a food sensitivity to that dairy a day or 2 days or even 3 days later. And again, dairy doesn't always cause gas and bloating for every person. For example, that does not happen to me. But about 2 days later, I start to get a little stuffiness, a little bit more mucus production, a little bit more just run down, not as much energy, just because it's low-level inflammation. Well, when I tested my food sensitivities, I saw that that was not an immediate reaction, which is an IgE, but I had an IgG sensitivity to these things like a lot of other people do in my practice. So whey protein can be benefit in terms of immune boosting and those types of things, but I would run a food sensitivity test first. Now, casein is a type of dairy-based protein that I can't recommend. This is marketed all the time as a slow-release protein. Well, partly it's slow-release because it's such a horrible protein for the human body to ingest from cow's milk that it does take a long time to break down. That's not a benefit. That's actually a detriment. That will cause more gastric-based discomfort. And the issue with casein is that it makes up about 80% of all of the protein inside of a dairy-based protein, such as cow's milk, which is why it's more abundant and they're trying to figure out a way to sell it. It is not healthy for you, and I cannot recommend it. Yes, it raises IGF-1 levels, which can help you put on muscle. But the other side of that, other flipped side to that, I don't even know how to say that properly, is that it could also increase cancer. And again, take it for what it's worth, but things like the China study did not prove that meat and things like that can cause cancer. Again, that's a discussion for another day. But it, and a lot of other books, it's not the only one, does show a pretty good correlation between dairy, specifically casein, and cancer. And again, they're not the only one. So if you didn't like the China study, totally fine. I did a review on that, pluses and minuses. But I'll tell you right now, taking in things that increase IGF-1 in your body will promote anabolic growth everywhere, and that includes cancerous tumors. So again, look into that. Feel free to look into it. This is not meant to be a whole topic on that. All right, the next type of protein that you could take in, so again, whey could be fine with you, is egg white. Again, egg white could be fine for you as well. Egg white, for those people worried about where they're getting all of the different sources of cholesterol, again, a topic for another day, is egg white's not going to contain that. So it could be a very clean source of protein for you. The issue is, and again, I didn't really know this till about 5 years ago, number 2 food sensitivity from an IgG perspective is not gluten, it's actually egg whites. Not egg yolks, but actually egg whites. They have twice the amount of protein antigens, which means twice the likelihood of egg yolks to actually cause a food sensitivity. Very interesting to me. One of the more interesting things, since I work with a lot of children in my practice, is that, again, we have Tufts University and Children's Hospital right down the street. They do a lot of this research as well. When you bake egg into a product, such as our delicious gluten-free waffle recipes and pancake recipes that we have, and I post those on Instagram, that you are not as sensitive to them because they're denaturing the protein, which is very interesting. But when you're using a protein shake, that is not denatured at all. Okay? Because there's not as much of that heating. Usually they're cold processed much of the time. So egg whites could be fine. Again, how do you do this? Just run a simple food sensitivity test. I'll link that up in the show notes. You can do it right at home for you, for your family. Real easy to do. We'll put it that way. And I've tested both of my daughters. My wife and I have both been tested for the food sensitivities as well. And we all know what we're sensitive to. Sure, we had a couple of common ones, but I had a couple of random ones. I was sensitive and still am to this day to almonds is one. And then the bean in chili, which just escaped my mind, but now it's back, is kidney beans. So again, there are sometimes random things that you're sensitive to, which means when you eat them, almonds, people consider be pretty healthy, right? Same with kidney beans. But when I eat them, they cause a longer-term immune-based and inflammatory-based reaction, which is why, believe it or not, I knew that. I kind of knew it instinctively, man, these almonds, I don't know. They're not settling well with my body. I feel fine, but I just don't feel great the next day, almost like a little brain fog. And lo and behold, they were a food sensitivity. So I'm glad I found that out. And no person has to eat any one food. So although almonds might be happy, well, they don't make my body happy. And so I had to remove them. They could be totally fine for you. But maybe walnuts or maybe pumpkin, which I've seen randomly come up, or cranberries, one of those things you're sensitive to. So interesting to look at. Soy is another protein. A lot of people use soy protein. This is not one I can recommend. Okay, I'm not totally against soy. I'm not against it in the form of a non-GMO organic tofu a couple times a week. I'll tell you why in a moment. Not against natto, not against tempeh, not against some of the fermented more natural sources, meaning you're taking the bean and you're breaking it down, you're removing a lot of the lectins, the phytic acid, and you're not using a GMO source, okay? Because most soy, about 92%, 93% is genetically modified. So here's the thing though. Those are not soy isolates. A protein shake is typically a soy isolate. A soy isolate is not how the body would meant to be consume it. A lot of people worry about soy and increasing estrogen levels. Sure, totally agree with that. And that's why it's bio-individual. So I can't use soy myself. But just because I can't use it doesn't mean the whole world can't use it. A little bit of soy. Now, I'll still do some tofu. I will. I'll do some organic sprouted tofu. I recommend probably no more than twice a week for most people. And also use it how they've been using it for thousands of years in a lot of Asian cultures who are, again, some of the longest lived populations. They use it just like any protein as a garnish to the meal. They're not eating a pound of it. They're eating a handful of it at the meal with a lot of other veggies. Now, who gets the most benefit? Well, it seems that men with prostate-based issues, women who might be more prone to estrogenic-based effects seem to get benefited from it, especially during menopausal-based years. Why? Well, although soy contains some estrogenic-based properties, the estrogenic-based properties are actually less insidious, less toxic to the body than the actual estradiol forms of it that our own body could use or manufacture, especially during times of estrogen-based dominance. So again, if you don't feel comfortable using soy, which again, I never recommend soy in my practice, so I just want to throw that out there. Now, food-based soy, some organic tofu, something like that, sure, every once in a while, no big deal, especially if you're vegan and you're looking for another protein source. But if they don't work well for you, like they don't work well for me, then they don't. That's the bottom line. I'm not recommending you eat it. I'm not recommending any protein that doesn't work well for your body. But my job is to also educate you, give you options, and also show both sides. Like there's these people who just vehemently are against these different types of diet plans when, they can work for some people and not work for others. So at least present both sides to the argument. Okay, one more product that's out there is plant-based protein. That's the one that I recommend the most. Why? Well, it's most hypoallergenic. That's the first, because soy is one of the top 5 allergens. Dairy is one of the top 5 allergens. Eggs are one of the top 5 allergens. So, of course, I'm recommending hypoallergenic things in my practice, especially since I work with so much Crohn's, colitis, SIBO. I mean, just you name it. That's basically the issue. So what type of proteins could you use? Well, you could use a rice protein, a pea protein, a hemp protein, a lentil, chickpea. I mean, there's all sorts of different proteins. I don't see bean proteins working as well, just to be honest. They have more lectins. They have more reactivity in the human body. But I see rice protein, I see pea protein, and I see hemp protein working really well for people all the time. People get worried because they say, I'm on a low carb or specific carbohydrate diet, those particular types of things. Keep in mind, when you're getting a plant protein that comes from rice and pea and those types of things, even if you're paleo, you're not getting the carbs with it. I think there's this missing element. When you are not trying to get any of the fructo, oligo, di, mono, and polysaccharides, then you don't have to be worried about all of the different sugars because we've isolated them. We're taking the amino acids, we're taking the protein, and then we're able to use that as a protein source. So I just want to qualify that for people who are worried in the past that a rice protein may affect their candida levels or their SIBO levels. It's really not. Maybe some rare case out there. Sure, we'll always leave ourselves open to that. But I mean, there's not too many people who work with more digestive issues than me. I'm not the only person in the world, of course. But I mean, our practice is 2/3 digestive based. And that's because I shouldn't say most people, but 2/3 of people, like whatever their issue is, whether it's autoimmune or skin or mood, it is stemming from the digestive system. That's 80% of where your entire immune system is. So of course it makes good sense to look there. Okay, let's wrap this up. So you can choose from any protein powder you like. Of course, my recommendation is the daily nutritional support powder. That's the one that we use. It's your entire multivitamin. It is your minerals. It's your amino acids. It's antioxidants. It's everything you need. Like it's every supplement that you need right in there. Okay. That's it. And then if you wanted to add the greens, which is 22 organic fruits and vegetables in a powder and a probiotic, that's what I call the Dr. Cabral Daily Protocol. Why do I call it that? Well, basically the bottom line is I want people to eventually get on a maintenance plan when they're healthy with everything that they need. Then if they just did it one meal in the morning, then they'd be good to go. That's what I literally created for my parents because I knew that they weren't people that were going to eat healthy all the time. My parents are great people, amazing, but they don't always eat the healthiest. And this goes for a lot of people as well. So yes, I'm picking on my parents, but they're great. They're doing so much better. But I said, no matter how you do for the rest of the day, and this was a while back, they're eating so much healthier now. But if you only do one thing, okay, can you do a smoothie in the morning? Let's just say a couple blueberries, cup of spinach, maybe a little bit of healthy fat, whether it's some flax seeds or it's some coconut oil or whatever you'd like, whatever you're into. And this all-in-one powder called the Daily Nutritional Support Powder. And then you added in 1 tablespoon, or you can do this on the side. We have a green drink recipe as well, of 22 organic fruit and vegetables, and just in this powdered form. And can you take a probiotic, 2 capsules, which is 50 billion probiotic. That's it. You do that for breakfast, you've gotten every nutrient, everything your body needs for the entire day. That's it. That's all you have to do. That's why I call it my daily protocol. And it's also a nice way for people to maintain without taking, a dozen different supplements. Because at some point, you want to save costs, you want to save whatever. And you can still take your favorites. There's no problem with that. But once you get well, I still take a lot of supplements. And I do that because I'm always tweaking and optimizing my body. But I always start my day with the Dr. Cabral Daily Protocol. That's it. And I just get all the nutrients I need from a functional medicine perspective and a whole food perspective because I'm using real berries and real veggies, but I'm using my powder, which is a 22 organic fruits and vegetables as well, called the Daily Fruit and Vegetable Blend. And of course, I'm putting in good probiotics for my gut, especially since I took over 3,000 capsules of amoxicillin before the age of 18, which is tragic in and of itself. And I'm always trying to repopulate and keep those good probiotics in my body because, as we know, a lot of them are transient. They don't necessarily stay. So what I'm trying to do is just keep them in there, keep it going. So those are my recommendations. You can always use your favorite protein powder, whether it is a whey, whether it is a egg white, or whether it is a hemp protein, something like that as well. So do what you feel is right for your body. Do what feels good digestively. If you need some creative-based recipes, I'm going to link up my recipe guide today, completely free. Again, like these things are all just information-based. Always do what you feel is right for you. That's my most important recommendation. I don't think I've ever given a more important recommendation to that. Do what you feel is best for you and your family, what you believe is the right short and long-term choice. Because whenever you do that, even if you're wrong, you can always say to yourself, well, I did my best. Like I literally did what I felt was best at that time. And that's all you can go by. Yeah, I can say that like from 10 years ago, I wasn't making all the right choices, 20 years ago especially, but I was doing my best. I was trying to make my best relative choice. That's all we can do. That's really it. So really appreciate everyone tuning in today. I'm going to link up the food sensitivity test, the free smoothie guide, the free greens drink guide, and the daily nutritional support, the Dr. Ball daily protocol, all those great things. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And like I said, it's always nice when conventional medicine eventually catches up and says, oh, you might be onto something here with these meal replacement shakes. Love to see that. Please feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could help. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well finally is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.